Then I go into like, oh, well, listen to, okay, she says, listen to her. Okay, so maybe I am the problem. And then I go, but then I'm like, then I was like, okay, well, give me a list. And then that would make her mad because she's like, I already do everything else. Now I got to give you a list on what to do too and tell you what to do. And
that is awful, by the way.
And then I would go back and do the list, and then it would still not be good enough.
Well, and this is what it brings up. So, like, again, you can tell the intention, but he asked me for a list. So, first of all, you want me to tell you how to be a good husband, and that means I'm leading because I have to tell you how to do it. And then I have to tell you how to actually love me. No. Like, you should just do it. You should just know how to love me. We've been together how long, and you still don't know how to listen? And I've told you these things over and over and over again. I told you what I want, and you're not listening. These were the conversations that we would have. Now, side note, I do have to be very clear that I know that Tommy was not the only problem, for the record, but that's where I was at that time.
Yeah, we were both mutually the problem.
Yes.
Like, equally. I mean, she had her own stuff. She didn't see it till later, but that's the way it was for a long time. And so, like, I felt broken, defective, and not because of her, although I would have blamed her 100% for that at the time. I felt like not good enough no matter what I did. I felt I had to earn admiration and love and respect, even though I didn't call it that and use those exact words then. I felt like it always got turned around on me. It was always somehow it ended up in a conversation. Hey, welcome back to the Marriage 2.0 podcast. So today we're going to be talking about communication and specifically how to communicate. We're going to teach you how to communicate through our story and everything that we went through. And let's just say this is a part of our story that hits home because it was terrible. Worst on the planet, probably.
It was awful. We had awful communication. But you do want to stay to the end because we are going to be teaching you how do you actually communicate where the both of you are truly heard and understood on the deepest levels. Because it's not about just one person being heard. You both have to be heard. And so it's not like, oh, the woman needs to be heard, the man doesn't. Nothing along those lines. No, for you both to be heard and understood.
He needs to feel, she needs to feel her feelings validated, and he needs to be respected. Sure, both people need respected and have their feelings validated.
Yep, both sides.
I don't know why people think that men don't matter in this instance, or women don't need to be respected. It blows my mind. But let's dive into it. So we're going to go over quite a few different topics, but I want to highlight specifically first, like we want to highlight what our communication looked like. So first of all, we would get into fights verbally. I mean, the physical abuse is another day, but this stuff, like we would get into fights verbally, and we would bring not only like just our own issues to the conversation, but a lot of ammo to the conversation.
We would fight, and let's just frame it and go ahead and let you understand that we got to the point. And so I want to highlight got to the point. Like, our whole relationship was not like this. It developed and got worse and worse with time because time doesn't heal wounds. And it got to the point where we'd be like, oh, the sky is blue. And it'd be like, no, actually, you see the clouds today? It's not actually blue. It's actually this color. And we would fight over the dumbest things. So fighting over the color of the sky was a frequent thing. It was that silly of how much we wouldn't know how to communicate and how much we would argue.
Yeah, we would just listen to attack each other, gather ammunition. I mean, honestly, sometimes we would communicate calmly, but then it was more like a volcano, especially for her, building up rapidly over time.
Let's be real. There is some people who can be quite fiery, quite witty. And if you know who you are, like, you know who you are. You either know, like, yeah, that's me, or that's the other one, right? And so I would listen calmly, and I would just have a way of spitting the words right back out, and they would be so condescending, but, like, it would sound so nice. But it would make Tommy feel so dumb. In that time, it was such an attack and pettiness that would come out. It was a tactful way to be sarcastic and petty and aggressive and demeaning all at the same time while using things like slow to speak and quick to listen during that.
Yeah, and honestly, even if we were able to communicate calmly, we would end up making it to where, like, we would make it through it, maybe without a blow up, maybe without her blowing her top, whatever you want to call it, like the little angry dude in I think it was an Angry Birds movie.
Angry Birds, the guy explodes, and then inside out, like, the angry guy, like, his head catches on fire. Both are great representations of how I used to be.
Yeah, and basically, even if we were able to make it through the conversation, it would end up being me being like, begging and pleading, making false promises at the end of it, even though they were well-meaning, it just didn't go very well. And so like it would always end up with like me being the issue in the situation. And unfortunately, obviously that's not correct, but it's just the way it played out a lot of the times.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, there was just so much within that of, there was so much in that, but a lot of it was like when we would show up in our communication, there was a lot of sarcasm that came out a lot. I would yell and I would call it passion. I'm like, no, I'm just really passionate. Like that's all it is. Now, I am still a passionate person. However, like that was not passion. That was yelling.
Yeah, it's basically like I would show up and try to make false promises of like, I'll do better this time. I'll make changes. Look at my routine. I'm going to do better this time. I'm going to be better, do better, all those types of things. And it was always
I don't believe you.
It was just like my words meant absolutely nothing, obviously.
And then I would tell him that.
Yep. And she would tell me that, and it would just end up even a lot worse. And then it'd be met with like most of the time, like she was saying, like what I would call like painful sarcasm. It was just like these, because I mean, let's just face it, like we've been together forever. And it was just like, at that point, it was like, she knew how to poke my buttons precisely, accurately. And she would poke. And we were very witty, still are very witty in different ways, but in healthy ways now. And the thing is like, it would just be like this painful sarcasm jabs.
Oh, yes.
And it would just cut to the core, right?
And you can drop in the comment if you know, like my spouse is the one who knows just how to push those buttons. Yes, and that was us. And when he would promise all of those things, like he said, like I want to point out his heart was in the right place. We wanted to be able to talk. It's not like we were coming at these conversations of like, hey, I hate you. I don't want to understand you. I don't want to be heard. Nothing along the lines. I just, I don't even want to solve our problems. We did get to a point of hating each other, but that's not where we were during these conversations. Like we genuinely wanted to, we just didn't know how. And so we were doing all of these things. And so his heart position, even on those promises, like it wasn't, oh, like I really don't mean it. No, he would mean them, but he just didn't have the true character development, which we're going to talk about later, of the foundations to carry forward those sorts of things. And like those things are most certainly very, very lacking.
Yeah, and if you hear yourself in some of these things, it's like, wow, it's like they have a camera in my house. It's because we've been there. We've heard that quote like, I don't even know.
So do you have cameras in my house?
Endless amount of times now. But the thing is,
we lived it.
Yeah, the thing is like another thing that would happen is like it would end up with her yelling at me and then calling it passion, right? There's nothing wrong with being passionate, but this wasn't passion. It was just like she'd yell at me and then call it passion, like, well, I guess I'm not allowed to express myself. I guess I'm not allowed to be me. And I would say things like that too, and just in different ways of like, I'm not allowed to be me around you. You don't like me, those types of things, which was,
I didn't like that. I couldn't trust your words.
We didn't like each other, to be fair, in a lot of different ways. But the thing is like that's what would end up happening partially in the conversations too.
And then also, I just have to point out, like when our communication, and you might find yourself in this, where you're talking about these same topics over and over and over again. And, some of the things that we used to say was, we've talked about this 1,000 times. I would tell him, I'm like, you're like talking to a doorknob. It's nothing is there. It wasn't even just one in one ear, out the other. I was like, I just felt like it bounced off. Like it was like, hello, is anyone home? Mm-hmm. And that's really legitimately how I would feel. And what some of the things that I would say to him, because we would talk about the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah. I mean, so my question to you is like, maybe what topics have you talked about over and over and over again in your marriage that you feel like is just on repeat? Because typically typically both people feel like that stuff's not getting solved. Let's be honest. We both felt like that. But it was just like we would talk about these things. Typically it was me that would bring up things because she didn't want to talk about them, to be honest. We've talked about them a million times at that point already. And so like, let me know, are you the person that's like, man, we've talked about this a million times already. Why are we could talk about it again. Hooray. All right, that was her. Me, I was like, oh, wait, let me guess. Just get over it. Just rub some dirt in it, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like, that was like my kind of go-to.
And then I'd be like, it's your pity party.
Eventually.
Literally, like, it was the same cycle. And you know what we're talking about. Because you may not be in the exact same words as what we are, but the pattern is the same. We can't agree. We're fighting over the same thing over and over. Neither one of us are heard or understood. The defense was up. They were listening to attack. They weren't actually listening to me. They just wanted to listen enough to then attack me. And then it's like over and over and just like that defensiveness. Like, you know what it's like. And so that's where we were in this. And every time we talked, it was just like more wounds to the relationship, more walls. It was like intimacy further and further down. Every conversation was like more intimacy. And on those rare occasions, is that what I said?
You said more intimacy, but
less.
It was like less. It definitely was not getting any closer
No.
to more intimacy. It was going plummeting.
So every conversation was less and less intimacy and more walls. And here's the thing. On those rare occasions that it was like, oh my gosh, that was a really good conversation. I feel so much better in this moment, because you know it's going to crash. Then what would happen is we would like lower the wall and immediately end up shooting right back up because nothing changed. And so that conversation, it was that false hope. Because we're going to talk about further about what it is that's missing, but the true foundations are missing. And so nothing would really change, even on those rare occasions that were like, hey, I did feel hurt on that one. And it's like, actually, you didn't. Or you only told me what I wanted to hear because you wanted to manipulate me. You just wanted something. And maybe it was like, oh, well, you only were nice to me and manipulated me so you could have sex. Maybe and literally it could have been different things. It'd be like for this thing, or so that you would give me permission to do this thing that I wanted, or for intimacy. There's so many different things that a lot of people actually feel hurt in a moment. And then they're like, the other person manipulated me.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like, I don't know of any guy that would say this, but it's like, I feel so manipulated that you want my body. Like I just don't like, I don't know. I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah. At any point I'm okay with it. Right. Like there was minus like a few times that was like, even like with the affair and stuff like that. And that was the affairs that we had. That was very difficult and nauseous and all those other things. And then crying and stuff during stuff. But like, it was just that part was difficult. I'm not going to downplay that. But the thing is like, I don't think I ever would really turn it down. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Unless I was afraid I was going to get like an STD, which was, like plausible, honestly. But
so back to communication.
Yeah. Back to communication. I just want to throw in that funny there. But the thing is like, I want to go through like a couple of reasons and you can kind of like go through how you felt too. But for me, I always felt like I was the only problem in the marriage. And
I've truly thought that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, so, like people are like, oh, well, she really doesn't feel like that. Or he really doesn't think you're the only problem. No. This was like that. Like I felt like I was the only problem in the marriage. And she thought I was the only problem in the marriage.
I was like you are the problem. And it's like, not like, I think you are like part of the problem. I was like, no, you are the problem in our marriage. If you would change, if you would fix your crap, if you would get off your butt, if you would stop having the same conversation over and over, and if you would just listen to me, then we would be good. Very simple. And
the thing, then I go into like, oh, well, listen to, okay, she says, listen to her. Okay, so maybe I am the problem. And then I go, but then I'm like, then I was like, okay, well, give me a list. And then that would make her mad because she's like, I already do everything else. Now I got to give you a list on what to do too and tell you what to do. And
that is awful, by the way.
Yeah. And you got two different people, right? So like, I'm kind of like more, I guess you'd call it detail oriented or list oriented. Oh. And she's less that way, which is fine. Different personalities, right? We still are. But like, I would get a list sometimes and then I would do the list. Or I would make a list, most likely what it was is like, hey, is this the stuff you want me to? Yes. Okay, cool. And then I would go back and do the list and then it would still not be good enough.
Well, and this is what it brings up. So like, again, you can tell the intention, but he asked me for a list. So first of all, you want me to tell you how to be a good husband. And that means I'm leading because I have to tell you how to do it. And then I have to tell you how to actually love me. No, like you should just do it. You should just know how to love me. We've been together how long and you still don't know how to listen? And I've told you these things over and over and over again. I told you what I want and you're not listening. These were the conversations that we would had. Now, side note, I do have to be very clear that I know that Tommy was not the only problem for the record, but that's where I was at that time.
Yeah, we were both mutually the problem.
Yes.
Like equally. I mean, she had her own stuff. She didn't see it till later, but that's the way it was for a long time. And so like I felt broken, defective, and not because of her, although I would have blamed her 100% for that at the time. I felt like not good enough no matter what I did. I felt I had to earn admiration and love and respect, even though I didn't call it that and use those exact words then. I felt like I always it always got turned around on me. It was always somehow it ended up in a conversation. She could literally be, and this happened legit. Like I caught her in an affair in text messages and I approached her, then I get yelled at. And like we talked about this before, but it's like you get yelled at and it's always made your fault. And so that was the thing. I was like, I felt like I was always the pest. I was always the burden. I felt like I was hated and I wasn't wanted in the relationship and I wasn't who or what she wanted in the relationship. And then you got the external measures of like, oh, I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't keep up with things. I couldn't like somehow be successful. I wasn't providing like what I wanted to provide. And like, and then you got all these things kind of compiled together. It's like, well, maybe I am like just broken. Right. And maybe like it'd be better off if I wasn't here altogether. And that's where the whole suicidal stuff came into play. It's just like, that's where it ended up being.
And let me be clear. So in this relationship journey of communication, so at communication, when he would have some of those feelings, I was like, oh, and being the good wife and being all those things, like, no, like you're good. And I was like, you're and I would build him up and I would say all those things. And then, but over time, like with the walls and the resentment and when things didn't change or when I would share something and he wouldn't remember. And by the way, there is so much science that goes and plays roles into those sorts of things too. But I was like, you just don't care because you don't remember anything I say. And we would just go into these communication things. And so it didn't just start with where we're discussing at this moment. It started with, oh, I would build them up. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm getting kind of tired of building you up. It's been a while. It's been, a couple years. And then it was like, okay, I'm over it. And then especially when he would be like, tell me what you want me to do. And I'd be like, I want you to listen to me. Because after we got married, there was like a state of depression that he had hit. And he would just spend a lot of time on his phone and zoned out. And just, we didn't know how to communicate like different needs and just different ways that we were just honestly different. We didn't know how to work through those things.
Yeah, and it's like, well, then you got people that will tell you like, oh, well, just say 3 nice things about your spouse every day. Like, just tell them what made you happy that day and what they can do better. I can tell you.
And first of all,
I can tell you that wouldn't have went well at any point in our relationship. I'm talking about when it was even well. That wouldn't have went well. No. Like it would have been maybe like thought about to some extent, and when we were dating. And maybe even shortly after being married, that's questionable. but like really, that would have never went well at any point. It definitely would have, just wouldn't have fixed things.
No. And so over this time though, like I did get to the point of like, I was like, well, I am good. You're the problem. And so all of those things that he shared that he felt, it was true. I did get to the point because it wasn't an automatic and it wasn't like, oh, I have this huge heart of hatred towards Tommy automatically. It was just the constant letdown, the constant, like, just walls, the constant, hey, we are not being heard. We're not on the same page. Or you said you would do this and then you didn't. And so every letdown builds another wall up.
Yeah, but like thing is like what do most people do here, like in the industry? So what they do is they're like, well, the guy just needs to be a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better he needs to level up. All true things.
Oh, and the woman needs to stop nagging.
But I mean, like as long as you make her happy, that's the biggest thing, right? No. That's not the correct way. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry for all you men that have had to deal with people like that have taught you those stupid things, but that is not correct. Yeah. Like it's supposed to be both sides that are healthy and work together. But what she did was she got to the point where like not only did everybody else, you've heard us say this before if you've been listening, but everybody else thought she was amazing. She thought she was amazing and she could do no wrong. And then if it did get to an apology, sometimes it did on her end. And I used to make this like joke. I can count on one hand how many times you've apologized to me in your life.
And I'd be like, I'm sorry for yelling, but I wouldn't have yelled at you if you hadn't have been stupid.
Yeah, so you just like, you got to look at that last part. But I wouldn't have yelled at you if you wouldn't have X.
Yep.
Right?
And I would do that a lot.
You could just fill in the blank with different topics on this. Like it was just,
any topic.
There was no ownership on it. And so, and even if, let's just say that she did take ownership, but she still didn't do a lot of other things, and I was doing everything I was supposed to do, it still wouldn't have fixed the relationship. Like, let's just be clear on that. But some common things she would say is, oh, it's all about Tommy. It's Tommy's pity. You heard her say it earlier. It's Tommy's pity party.
Yep.
Your words mean nothing to me. I don't want to hear sorry anymore. And then I changed it to apologize, like that was any better. But
no, I was like, please. Yeah. I was like, don't say you're sorry one more time. I don't care. Don't say I apologize. I don't care. Your words mean nothing. It's only going to be action at this point that says anything different. So I don't want to hear you talk. And it really got to the point of, I really just don't want to hear you open your mouth because I don't believe anything that comes out of it anyways. And I really did feel that he was selfish. I was like, you were selfish and it's all about you.
Yep. Do you want to add anything on how you felt in the conversations, or do you feel like you've added?
I feel like I've added throughout, but here's the thing. And one of the biggest things for me was I really did. I was like, I communicate. I know how to communicate. I am telling you what I want. I am telling you what I feel. I am a great communicator and you're the problem. And if you could communicate, then we would be good. And I'm going to address this again later, but that is my mindset and where I was at that time.
Yeah. So people like somehow like what we use to chop these things up in terms of reels that'll be edited. This last little snippet will be cut off and people will be like, wow, she's so rude.
I love it when people call me ugly names about how I used to act. They're like, and fill in the blank because they're no filter. And I'm like, so the people who come on and call me blankety blank 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 and
and I've been called other things too. I can't even find the comments, but whatever.
But the not beeped out version, by the way, I laugh because I'm like, I know exactly where you are, man. That's exactly what we were talking about, where we used to be when you feel like you have to act that way. So thank you for validating those things, and we appreciate it. So you can keep commenting. It doesn't hurt my feelings, and I actually get a kick out of it. So if you want to make me laugh, that's cool. Go for it.
Take all the hate we can get. Get some haterade. Thirsty around here. All right. So some timing.
We need to talk about timing because this is a big thing that a lot of people don't consider when it comes to conversation. And just to play off the whole, like, I know how to communicate and you don't. This is one of those things I was like, it's common sense. And what we have found that common sense doesn't really exist, by the way. But I was like, why would you talk at such a dumb time? Timing plays a huge role in communication, and there is appropriate times for communicating on certain topics, and then there's inappropriate times to talk about things.
Yeah, I know. So I'll just give you some different examples, and this was like not always the case, but a lot of the time. I mean, honestly, I would choose to talk about things, and I'll explain why I did these things. Not on a deep subconscious level, but like from my like point of view back then, when I wrote this, I was really thinking about like what those things looked like back then. But regardless, like our kids were little. She calls them littles, whatever you want to call them. But
yeah, they were little.
They were little, and I would try to talk to her in the car with the kids in the car, and they were little, but not little enough. Like I'm talking in car, like so maybe one of them was in a car seat.
No, they both were in car seats.
Oh, they were? Okay. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah. So like it was. They were, but at least one of them was old enough to like kind of understand like
and regurgitate for sure.
Yeah, and like stuff isn't right, you know. And so I would try to talk in the car, and one time I even tried to jump out of the car. She stabbed me with a key too. But
first of all, I stabbed him with my car key while I was getting gas, so at least I wasn't driving. I was just really angry, and it didn't. Maybe there was
twice then, because I remember the car key thing. Maybe it was when we were getting. I don't remember. It's been so long.
I know. I think logic on this. If it's my car key, I can't be driving because it was in the car.
Well, wouldn't it have been like a? No. I don't remember. To be honest with you, it's been a long time.
Because it was an older car.
But it happened. And then also another time I would try to do it is like late at night, right before. This was more common more often than the actual. Talking in the car thing, but they were pretty equal for the most part. I would try to talk late at night before bed. We would get in massive fights.
Yep.
Pretty much every time. And then what happens is, and you can tell me if this has happened to you, maybe not, maybe it's just us. Maybe
We're the weirdos.
Maybe we're just weird. I don't know. But like we would get into fights really late. I would try to talk about things. It wouldn't like I would approach it with yelling at her or something like that. Sometimes maybe, but most time no. And then sometimes she would fall asleep with me talking, which is irritating the crap out of me. Sometimes, which I don't know, rightfully so. I mean, we're talking about things like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning.
First of all, I just want to comment. I still think that when someone, Tommy would have a pause, quotes, pause.
Yeah.
His pause was minutes. And I don't take long to fall asleep. So by the time he was thinking, quote unquote, I had done fallen asleep in that minute or two. I was like, I'm asleep. So then he would say something and it would startle me and wake me up. So it's like I'm drugged having this conversation because I'm in and out of sleep. And my sleep pattern is I fall asleep quick and I hit deep sleep. So I'm being pulled in and out of deep sleep and just groggy. And this is how we're trying to have a conversation.
Yep. And then on top of that, what happened was like, even if she stayed awake, let's assume that she stayed awake for, that happened a lot too. What would happen is we would talk, we get in arguments a lot of times over the same stupid things, same issues, same conversations in the past, a lot of times too. And then what would happen is before you know it, you're in like a 4-hour conversation that you started at like probably 11, 12 at night, maybe like 10 p.m. And then we would end up like 3 or 4 a.m., delirious. And just at that point, arguing, throwing things, saying things just in a delirious, almost like drunken state, maybe even drunken state on her end, but like, like saying things in a state to where we're like just trying to hurt each other. Literally, it's not even it's not even an argument anymore. It's just like, like it's just like this is all it was. Like,
can you do caveman time one more time?
That's what it was. That's what it was. Legitimately, like at night, it was so ridiculous. Now I know you've never been through that. But that's what we went through a lot of times too. That's another time I bring things up.
And I want to say like another thing about this timing thing. So timing was Tommy was awful at timing. Awful. I gotta say I had my moments too, but notoriously, Tommy was like, oh, are the kids around? Let's try and have conversation. Oh, we're sitting down for food. Let's try and talk about some deep thing. And no. And so then it would escalate because it was constant back and forth and it would escalate. So I didn't want to have conversation. He did. And then we would end up arguing about whether we were going to have the argument or not to begin with in front of the kids. And it would go like that. And then we had gone on like a family trip. And that's the whole incident about him trying to jump out the car and me stabbing him. And it's because he had told me, that was when he told me about an affair. On the way, like we were on the way to spend.
Talk about timing.
Yeah, to spend the whole day. We were in a car ride and for over an hour drive one way to go on a family trip. And then that's when he told me he had an affair. And then so we had to spend the whole day at a theme park. And honestly, like all day long, I thought about all the ways that I wanted to kill him. And it was an awful day.
Yeah. And I mean, there were so many awful days, but that was one of them. And yeah, the thing is that like, it was not a good time to talk about, like, if you're thinking about telling your spouse about an affair, wait, get help from someone like us to do the work that needs to be done on their end and your end. And then, because we have couples that come in to work with us and they're like, well, should I tell them right now? I'm like, no. Like, no, now's not the right time.
You mean you tell them to keep a secret temporary for like 2 weeks? Yes.
Yeah. 2-4 weeks. It just depends. But like on the situation, but like we say like, hey, we're not telling you to lie, but just keep it like right now because we need to do some work first on you guys as individuals before we bring this out. There is a perfect time, I promise you, to bring this out, and it's going to be then. And
it's
so
most certainly not to word vomit or just randomly, oh, by the way, here's everything. And no. And also, so we talked a lot about your sucky timing. And so I'll clarify, like there was like a one time that I had an awful time too. And it was like, I chose a day that we should have not had any conversation.
oh my gosh, that was horrible.
So I equally told Tommy about something like on a birthday. And, this actually brought a lot of hatred towards from my family towards Tommy too, because then like they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know about the conversation. But again, so awful timing on my end. And part of it, and for the both of us, I think that if we did it in these awful timings, right, it was like, well, you won't be able to react and you won't be able to leave. So you have to stay.
I mean, I didn't throw things through the wall or punch you in the face like I wanted to.
Yeah, that day you
But-
just kind of got drunk and fell asleep.
Yeah, but so like basically it was on one of our it was, no, we have one daughter. It was on our daughter's one of her birthdays when she was little, and like, you know, she comes and tells me this. I don't even know how we got to this conversation, but it's been so long. But she told me this, and like, I just like felt like my heart was ripped out, my knees give out, and I sink to the floor and just start bawling. And then like this is upstairs, and then all of a sudden like then, oh well, now it's time to go back to the party. Okay, cool. Well, now I'm going to get really drunk for the rest of the day. And so to suppress that, right? So there's never like, people say there's never a good time to do it. So now's the present's the best. No, it's not. Don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
That's so bad.
That brought,
like,
and that was awful on my end. And then obviously like how he handled it was awful too. Like not saying what he did was okay or justified, but then it just brought in like that image, right? People like, oh, see, he is an awful dad. He is. And again, it was one of those things of everyone saw like one thing. They didn't know the full story. So timing is huge.
Yeah, another thing that probably timing on her end was that this is one of the things that probably upset me was what, like when we were really early on in our relationship, she had an affair, and I was convinced that it happened, but denied it, and it just never.
Of course, I denied it. I was terrified.
Like went to like was going to take it to her death, denied it. Deathbed denied it, and it would not come out. And I just knew deep internally that it happened. I knew deep in my gut that it happened. I knew it, and then like it got to the point where I was like, well, maybe it really didn't happen. I thought like maybe I'm just so insecure. Like I just remember being upstairs crying, like, God, please take this away from me. I know she didn't do anything. I know it wasn't real, and like I don't want to like cause issues in our relationship anymore. And then years later, like probably, I don't know, it was a while ago. It was like more than 3 or 4 years later that I had an affair. And then to get back at me for having the affair, that came out. And I was like, and then it made me feel like, because all those years, you know, I felt crazy. Like I felt like something was wrong with me. And so that was like, we can talk about affairs later on. We'll bring that up and go deeper on it. But the thing is like, that was also bad timing, because while there is no perfect timing, never is also not okay.
Yeah, it's not. And if you've fallen into that of like, well, because obviously when we talk about affairs, we'll dive much deeper into that. But there was legit fear. Like I was terrified, and there's gonna be a lot of haters who are like, yeah, well, that's what you get. And okay, first of all, like the cheating didn't define who I was, and it was a lot of everything was much deeper. It wasn't like, oh, I was just a slut or whatever, because I wasn't just a slut, but also like there was so many deeper things that played a role into that. And so I was terrified. And so if you're like, man, I have, you know, there's always been a wall, because if you have a lie between the two of you, you're not experiencing true intimacy and what the marriage should be. It doesn't matter what the lie is. But we have helped people who have had affairs like 10 years ago and they had never been told, 20 years ago and hadn't been told. And, you know, there is true healing and restoration that you can have on those things. But
time does not heal wounds, though.
It does
like,
not.
That's not what's going to do it. I guarantee it. So those that have found out about it, and then 20 or 30 years later, we've helped them too, because they still haven't healed from it. It still triggers. But the other thing is, like, I would try to schedule times to talk about it and do those things. Not a lot, but sometimes I would just get to a point. Okay, well, okay, I get it. Let's try and schedule a time. We'll meet tomorrow at this time, and we'll talk about it. The kids won't be there. Let's like get them to go over to your parents' house or something like that. And then, you know, that was what I would try to do. But then something would come up.
Of course, why would I want to talk about it again? Of course, then I was like, this is going to be an easy one to avoid.
Yeah. So like, because it's scheduled, I can be somewhere else exactly at that time, right? So like, it would come up. I have to work late, whatever it is. Like the thing is like it wouldn't get talked about, and so. While my timing wasn't good, and while scheduling it wasn't the answer either, it wasn't going to get talked about. So I was like, well, I guess I just got to like go when I can. So it was like, well, either when we go to bed, because the kids aren't around then, so she won't talk about around the kids. So I try to respect that. And then it was like, so it was just to be honest with you, even if we did manage to come together at a scheduled time though, realizing what I know now, it wouldn't have ever done anything.
No, and we did legit have times that was just me and you, and it was a quote unquote right time. It was just we lacked all of the actual foundations to have that communication. And so a couple other pitfalls that we fell into and the mistakes that we made, one on the communication was Tommy was a follower. So I want to know, and I forgive you if you're the one who was like, I have to fix it now. And you follow, even when they're like, I don't want to talk about it, and you follow. Tommy would follow me, which, by the way, would only ignite my fight and flight survival patterns. That's all it would do. And this is typically where the violence would come out, is because we would end up in a closet, which no windows, no doors, because Tommy was stronger than me and I couldn't get by him. And so I would end up in these parts of the house where there was no escape, and he would want to talk about it. And when I would lose my mind to try and get out, and that's where more of the violence would come from. But the following and the trapping, it's like, I don't want to talk in the closet. I don't want to talk in the bathroom. I don't want to be trapped in any small space with you. Actually, it was awful.
Yep. Another thing is, like, I would hold her keys hostage so she couldn't leave the house. So sometimes I didn't trap her in the room, but like in a bigger space, I guess, which was kind of better. It had windows, but like still, like she wouldn't leave.
Remember that day that you wouldn't let me leave the house at all? Like you would block all doors, and it was terrifying. Yeah. Like it was actually terrifying. And I don't remember any words actually saying. The only thing I remember was, oh my gosh. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to die if I don't get out of this house. That's all I felt.
Yeah, like, so that, and then also she would go for like some walks and stuff like that, which is not a bad idea, like, but it's just like, it depends. Mm-hmm. And so that would happen, or like, I remember following her in my car and her car and like doing crazy maneuvers and like even with each other in the car sometimes and peeling out and like, oh my gosh, it was so many different arguments and disagreements. Our neighbors thought we were like nuts, which we were. But
I would say at the time we were. But yeah, let's talk about one of the other pitfalls that we fell into was once we learned and we know we were working on, we wanted it to heal. And that's when we were starting to dig and do research and stuff. And then when we learned about, a narcissist and bipolar, when we learned about those labels, which if you, like, I'm sorry, like God didn't create you a narcissist or bipolar, you might have survival tendencies that fall into a label that society has slapped on, but that doesn't mean it's who you are. Yeah. But it tainted our lens so bad. And then we only weaponized those things against each other. So then we were just throwing weapons even more.
Yeah, so I'm going to be just very clear here. There is no such thing as we're going to do a whole episode on this, but there is no such thing on narcissist. It's a term invented by, if you look at the history of it, on the original guy that invented it, and then a couple of the guys that like really made it popular, they had severe trauma and childhood issues. Like, it's funny because it's like they just invented a term to validate their childhood issues. That's all it literally was. Then it became popular by some later guy that also had issues. And one of the original people was like tied to like different like demonic things. But regardless, it's a term that's made popular, but it's realistically something that doesn't even really exist. You got healthy and unhealthy people. That is it.
Yeah. And so we would fall into that, and we would, some of the other things that, so with the whole narcissist and bipolar, we'd be like, oh, well, you're just not going to ever understand because you're a narcissist. Oh, well, you're just bipolar.
Gaslighting me.
Oh my gosh. He would tell me that so much, and I'm like, following the line, I'm like, oh, you just said, I said, and it was so confusing. And then I was like, well, I don't even know what to think anymore. And you feel crazy in these arguments. You legit feel crazy. And you're like, well, I don't know. And then, it's like, maybe I am. I don't know. I give up. And so.
Yeah, and then eventually, like, honestly, another thing is like, we would just try to talk about it, and then we trying to avoid it was another issue. So like we would just talk about it and word vomit on each other is what I mean by that. But that doesn't go anywhere.
Don't word vomit on your spouse.
Yeah, so that was a pitfall. And then even if it was calm, cool, and collective, it still never went anywhere productive. And even the people that tell us it goes somewhere, it doesn't go anywhere. Trying to avoid it, that didn't work. Mm-hmm. Shutting down is kind of the same thing. And then we also, using communication tactics like slow to speak, quick to listen, which I get is biblical, but if you don't fix the other things, that's not going to work either.
Just saying I feel statements doesn't fix it either.
Yep, nope. Date nights to reignite the spark. Oh my gosh, we had so many horrible dates because of trying that stuff.
Yes, we did.
And like
awkward.
going to counselors or therapists to mediate it, that was horrible because one usually took one side or the other or irritated both of us. And I can't think of one single time we left counseling feeling good.
Nope.
Or feeling like things were resolved. Not once. And we tried a lot of different ones. And we've heard clients say the exact, thousands of clients say that, thousands of people, hundreds of clients say the exact same thing. So
we went through obviously so much, and our communication was awful. And even applying, because at this time, like, yes, throughout this time, we were going to different marriage classes. We were in different counseling and different therapy. We were trying and implementing the techniques that they said and thought, and we were implementing the things from church, and we were using different scriptures and all of those things. Like, we were implementing what we would learn from all of these different things. However, it wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah, we were focused on habits and behaviors.
That's all we were focused on, was behaviors and the habits. And we thought that would fix it, and obviously it did not.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is you got a lot of people out there that focus on just that. And it's like, that's not going to fix it. You can tell you never really had marriage issues and fix them, people that say that, because like realistically, like if that was true, then that would have actually fixed it. And it's like, dude, that's not how it works. And so, by the way, a lot of this crap that we're talking about that we went through, like in the communication issues, this was all really bad. But the thing is, like, you got to understand, like, it wasn't just the communication issues. This is all on top of everything else. An insane number of affairs, addictions, physical abuse, trust issues like crazy, obviously, financial abuse, financial issues, intimacy issues, anxiety and depression, suicidal issues through the roof, a ton of triggers, intrusive thoughts, labels, and feeling abandoned by friends on my end and some on her end. But like, and then there's other things too. But the thing is, like, this is on top of everything else. And I want to point this out because people don't understand this. It's not just about like, oh, me bragging on our story. Cool. If you want to hear it, I hope it inspires you. But the thing is like, what people don't understand is they go after and try to fix communication, but then you have also all this other stuff too. And it's like, well, if we just fix communication, it's going to fix all this other stuff too. Everything else will fall in line. And that's a lie that I believed. And I know I'm pretty sure like she believed, because obviously she said it earlier.
If we just communicate better, if we just can hear each other, if we can just get on the same team, we'll be okay.
If we can just do more, be better, and do more and be better, and do more and be better long enough, it'll get better. That's the lie that I mentioned this on the last podcast, but it's like people have this falsehood of like, if I do the behaviors long enough, they'll become like permanent habits, and then I will change overall. That's not how it works. No. You can't outwork your deep-rooted beliefs.
Yeah, and on these things, I just want to point out, like, it wasn't that our heart wasn't in a place where we wanted to communicate. Like, we legit wanted to be able to communicate. At one point, we did get to a point where we didn't, obviously. But during the beginning of this and the beginning of our hell on earth, we wanted to have a resolve. We wanted to have peace. We wanted to have, like, we did, but we just didn't know how. And so you might be thinking, man, y'all are just dumb. Of course you shouldn't have been yelling. Of course you shouldn't. Yeah, that's great. And
you could tell you've never had marriage issues.
Like, no, or, your journey is different than ours, and that's totally fine. Here's the thing, though. If you just tell someone who yells all the time, hey, don't yell, that's not going to fix it. Or even if you just implement a consequence, if that person yells, that's not going to change the actual problem and fix anything into the marriage. So this is where you can't just like, oh, just this one part. But our hearts was, and that's the point, is like, I want you to know, like, our heart was that we wanted to have healing. We wanted to have that intimacy. We wanted to have that relationship. We just didn't know how. We weren't taught. And then all of the things that we were seeking were just giving us these little nuggets and changing a habit, and none of it was working.
Yeah, and I would say this is like, you gotta understand, like, we've been together since childhood, pretty much. Like,
I was 15, he was 16.
Yeah, I mean, who gets together, especially at that time, and wants to get divorced? No one. No one gets married, plans on getting divorced unless you're getting your green card, I guess. But like, I've seen that happen sometimes. But outside of that, like, that's a rarity. That's not the norm of things. So like, when it comes down to it, like, we wanted things to work out. But one thing I do want to talk about is like some of the lessons that we learned is like people will say things like, oh, sticks and stones. What? You finished it out? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but what? Words will never hurt me. That is one, dumb. And it's not true. And anybody that's ever been hurt by words knows how stupid that is. It's like, because people are like, oh, well, words will never hurt me. Well, then typically with the association that then you make is like, oh, well, if it hurts me, then I just care too much, or I need to detach more, which causes people to do what? Build up more walls in their heart towards people and be cold and calculated and not connected to anyone. And then they get bitter and resentful and hurt and all those things. And they try to protect themselves through self-preservation, through building up walls and issues over the years. That's not the answer either. Like, you're not weak just because like words hurt you. I was going to say that right now. If words hurt you, that's okay. That's what they do.
Yes.
Like, if they could build you up or hurt you, it's life or death is in the power of the tongue.
It's not weakness to show emotion, and it's not weakness to have pain or weakness to have feelings. Those are lies from the enemy, and a lot of people walk in that. And it's not just men who walk in that. My fiery, really passionate women, which I think are so much fun to mentor, they come in that way too. It's like, I can't show weakness. I'm the strong one. I'm the strong one. I have to hold it all together. And it plays a role in this. Like, what you say isn't going to hurt me. And it was like, what you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Like, all of those sayings. And they're like, they're not true. And so words actually do have a massive impact.
Yeah. I got some men that yell. Sometimes they're fiery. But most of the time what I get is like a lot of men that are more of passive, and you know, they're typically not in the space to lead, but then they go from like passive to stoic in an essence of like leadership and strong and grounded and able to lead, and their wife can trust them. But like a lot of, and the trust goes both ways. It's not just one way. But the thing is, a bone can heal in about 6 weeks. I've heard that from doctors and different things like that, but words can do a lot more damage. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, words do so much damage. So just that whole sticks and stones, put that in perspective. A bone heals in about 6 weeks. Yes, there's worse injuries that take a little longer. You know, however, words, we're going to talk about the effects they have on your mental, emotional, the spiritual, the physical. They have a massive amount of impact. And so words can cause trauma. Words can cause mental damage. So like pea-brain for Tommy. For me, it was garbage disposal. Like, there was a huge thing about like my body and self-image, or the man, and because of my last name. And so I was like, I was like, okay, so the masculine and all of these different things, like there was so much things that said that did cause damage. And so trauma and mental damage, and it's going to cause deep beliefs that person's going to carry about themselves too. So the huge mental and emotional side here.
Yeah, the pea-brain thing she's mentioning is my dad used to like kind of tap me in the chest over and over again and call me pea-brain. But because there's a lot of different reasons.
Or kids would call you retarded. Can you do that thing?
Retarded. Like, it was funny because like I was in like a little side note here. I was in special education classes. You probably go back and listen to the first episode if you want to listen to all this. But I was in like special education classes before it wasn't like actually like.
Can you do that again?
It wasn't.
You do so good.
It wasn't like.
It wasn't cool then.
It wasn't cool. Like, you know, and they're having me like motor skills and like putting blocks in certain holes. It's so stupid. Like. But regardless,
bless your heart, Tommy. Let's talk about
going back to the original topic. So another thing is like it causes deep-rooted. This is the biggest thing out of all of it, I would say, because then that can ripple effect into other things, and it does. But what it does is it creates strongholds, or you can call this deep-rooted beliefs. Toxic, deep-rooted limiting beliefs. It causes these things, and then what happens is that's how you do everything. It affects how you make your decisions, your life changes, what you do or you don't do, like how you respond or react to things. Literally, it will affect everything in your life. And people say like, "Oh, my childhood doesn't affect me." Really? We've coached hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people and had tens of thousands of people reach out to us every year, and not one single person doesn't have issues from childhood. Now, some of them will think they don't have issues from childhood, and some of them don't have traumas and being like raped, molested, abused, stuff like that. But trauma doesn't just have to occur when you like get raped, molested, abandoned, abused. it can occur in a moment where you're sitting in a classroom like me. And while I didn't have cops in my front yard like she did at her childhood, like it can occur when like you're sitting in a classroom and you're not done with the test and you already have seizures a good chunk of your life and you feel retarded and all these other things. And I say retarded, I know some people get offended over that. I can say it, I was in special education classes. So like regardless, either way, and I had a 1.7 GPA. If I can become successful, anybody can. But the thing is like when it comes down to it, it's one of those things where that causes trauma too. It's not just like trauma is what most people think. It's also social programming.
Yeah, and trauma is how you store an event in your life. So it could be literally a teacher calling you out and having you speak in front of the class can become a traumatic event for you. So it's something that's stored for you, and your brain is developed anywhere from 4 to 12 on average on the lower side, and then traumatic events later in life. Sometimes it's a little earlier. Average is 4 to 12 is where your subconscious brain is developed, which is all these beliefs and things. So all of those that are words are being said are shaping you there. But then with the repeat and traumatic events later in life, it will also program these deeper things. And we've helped so many clients, and so when we're mentoring them, when you realize that the lens that you see the world through and the way that you make decisions has been affected by the people who've hurt you, that is a huge wake up when you realize you have not been actually living your life. You've let the people who've hurt you and you live despite of, they're actually the ones who make the decision for you. And it's quite sickening for a lot of people to have those realizations. But this effect of words on someone has so much deeper effects, because it's not just like, of course it's going to affect how they talk about themselves internally, like their internal dialogue, but it's going to be how they see themselves, and it becomes their identity. So words said do become people's identity, and it causes healing that they're going to have to go through.
Yeah, also, like, not only that, but you got to understand, like, people carry these wounds and carry the wounds from words, not only on a subconscious level, which is all automatic programming that, you know, your subconscious, which is 95% of your brain, 5% of that being conscious, they carry these things all throughout their life a lot of times, like throughout the whole thing, which it affects their soul, which is their mind, will, emotions, and intellect, but also the actions that they do and they don't take. Affects how they talk to themselves, how they see themselves. Legit affects everything.
How, like, their goals, on what goals they do and don't achieve, which routes they pursue and don't pursue. Your words can be the deterrent for someone else's future. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so words can cause that type of stuff. So the mental and emotional effect of words is huge. And there's also a physical side for words too. When you carry these wounds and you carry those things from the mental and emotional, it's going to affect your physical. So, like, for example, being called like the fat, being called more along the lines of a man, being called a garbage disposal, all of those, they hurt. And I had an effect on me physically. And yes, I would store things. And then I physically was fatter because of these things too. Now, did I have habits in part? Yes. So habits were there that had to be adjusted, but it's the deep subconscious, because someone who identifies as a fat person, whether it be like, oh, like I'm a fat girl or I'm a fat guy, a fat boy, they make jokes about it. They're not going to lose the weight because that's going to alter their identity, and their identity is built around what has been stated. So for me, like, losing weight was almost impossible no matter what I did, because my identity had become that fat girl, that just garbage disposal. And so that it causes illnesses too.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, so habits do play a role in all this. Like, yes, of course, and habits can solidify when you do the deeper work. Yes. And we teach that. But the thing is like, you can't just focus on habits. You're focusing too surface level. Like, surface level is like, if you want surface level, this isn't a channel that you probably want to watch. I'll be honest with you. Like, if you just want a quick fix in your microwave mentality, then go away. Like, we don't want you here. So, like, when it comes down to it, your words can be a deterrent for someone's future and their life. There's life and death literally in the power of the tongue. And so another one is the physical side. Did we talk about physical side already?
I was just talking about that.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. So the spiritual side, let's talk about that. So you got the spiritual side, and you got curses made. So this can cause, and if you don't believe in curses, demonic, I'm sorry.
You can also just stay tuned to continue to hear more stories and about people who've lived it, experienced it, been healed from it, and have your eyes open. But also, like, just know that on this channel, you have to come with a growth mind and not a know-it-all mind. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, we talk about all of the things you need inside of a marriage and communication and tools and tactics, every bit of it, and the healing on an individual level. But part of that healing on an individual level and clearing your soul out and your spirit out and cleansing your bloodline and all those things are very real. Like curses, it can make, but anyways, words can cause curses, not only for yourself, because you can speak internal curses to yourself. You can make agreements made to yourself, but also like you can have curses that other people speak over you too, that have authority over you and stuff like that. I mean, parents, pastors, things like that, bosses, whatever you're under, that can cause those things. Also covenants that can be broken based on words and even made based on words. And altars, evil altars being built in the unseen realm, which are demonic access points and landing strips at that point. And let me just get this straight. Every single stronghold that you have, which a stronghold is like the mindset, the mental things, the beliefs, the deep-rooted beliefs primarily. And that's a landing strip, and all those agreements and everything are landing strips because they're all on subconscious level. You wouldn't know about them. There are landing strips for demonic to come in. One of the landing strips. That's not all of them. There's other landing strips too. Yeah. But that's just one of them, and access points for the enemy in your bloodline.
And so there's so much more on the spiritual side, and I just had this come to me, and I just want to share this, Tommy, and because it just came to my mind. I remember hearing a testimony about someone who could see in the spirit, and a seer isn't just someone who has eyesight like I thought once upon a time. And a seer is someone who can actually see in the spirit, which means they actually see demons, they actually see the angelic, they can see what's going on, okay? And because there is a spiritual, like we're not a part of just the world, there is an unseen realm, and the science backs that. Our eyesight only picks up so much on the light, and there's so much more on the spectrum. So science backs the Bible. So we are a part of the spiritual world. And, I just remember learning about like when you word vomit, when you just like let it all out and you just, or you're gossiping or you're talking drama and just pouring out from a place of hurt or bitterness and anger, it comes out in the spirit like word vomit. It actually comes out like vomit and food that demons feed on. Because that is not of God. It is not what God tells us to flow out of our mouth. It is not how he tells us what to focus on or what to speak. And so when you like just word vomit all over your spouse, or you're coming with anger and bitterness and rage, or talking about gossip or talking about your spouse or all that dramatic, when you're word vomiting and all that, you're feeding the demons. And I just think that that stopped me in my track. First of all, that's gross. I'm a very sensitive stomach, and I was like, ooh. And it made me kind of think twice about like, who do I want to feed? Do I want to feed the angelic and grow God's army? Or am I equipping the enemy? And you get to choose that with your words. And Tommy, you were talking about curses and agreements. And these are things that are allowing access points for the enemy. So demons don't have the power to create. And that's why they want access through us. So if they can get you to whisper things like, hey, you're stupid, or your spouse is this, guess what? You just spoke in the spiritual as well. And you're giving access to those like different entities and stuff.
Yeah. So like the thing is, what I'll say here is like, we're not one of those people that will be like, oh, blame everything on the devil. Right?
No.
It's not what we do. And so like we are about like both sides though. You need the side that I mentioned, which is all of the healing, the work, the deep stuff. Then you also need the spiritual side of things too. And it's not just reading your Bible. The church does not talk about this demonic stuff. A lot of them do not. And we aim to change that. And we are working on that. But the thing is like people need healing here too. They need to cleanse their bloodlines, clean out the occult level demons, even sometimes territorial level demons. And they need to get this stuff out of them and clean out those kingdoms, those demonic kingdoms inside of them to get free. And so like, because there can be spirits like Leviathan and Python and different things, especially Leviathan, come between couples and stuff.
For the record, I just have to throw that wording. We should not mention just names like that. Don't go after those unless you are taught or equipped, because if you try and attack certain principalities you don't have the power and authority to attack, you will cause havoc, and it can even bring on premature death. So don't attack those, and for future reference on those. So here's a couple other things we want to mention on the spiritual side that plays a role into the communication, because it is really huge. One, obviously, like you can tell there's a massive spiritual warfare side here, but it creates strongholds over your mind and over your life, but also the spiritual effects of someone's communication or name calling or just the awful things that go on in a marriage that's struggling, that can deter someone from their destiny. That can literally cause someone to go a different route. That's why we're also supposed to use discernment, where Holy Spirit, like, what do you want me to say? Holy Spirit, what do you, like, seeking the Holy Spirit's guidance as well, because otherwise we can be the ones who deter people. And also during just like all the awful types of communication, it does allow spirits to come in that cause further division. So there is, like there's a death adder, which is a serpent, which blocks hearing.
Yeah, you could pull snakes out of your ears anywhere.
Like spiritual snakes and stuff.
Anywhere in your, not just your ears, anywhere in your body. Katie Souza specifically, I love her. We visited her at events, been to her stuff. She's awesome. It's all biblical. She backs it. But like, this is a form of deliverance that we use part of. But like, the thing is like, you can have death adders in your ears, and they usually come in through like sometimes unforgiveness, but a lot of like more of spitting venom. Meaning like what it comes in through is like you're gossiping or you're slandering someone else, or you're usually where that comes in is like through comparison type stuff too, but slandering, a religious type spirit can come in there too. But like, that's where it comes in. And then before you know it, you're not willing to hear anything, listen to anything, all that stuff's there. Now, I want to say something here. Don't go all spiritual and be like, the only thing we have, because there's a lot of people that do this, even in like their full-time deliverance, that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, whatever. And they'll think that, oh, you just get delivered. And then not all of them think this, but a chunk of them do. All you need is deliverance, and then just get rid of that. And then me and my husband will be okay. Me and my wife will be okay.
No.
That's not true.
So you need all of it. You need the healing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because otherwise it's an open door. One of my favorite stories is this person that knowing in person, like we know her in person. This was her testimony. She got deliverance. She had a physical, something wrong with her. She got healed, made it from altar to her seat. And this is something, honestly, because people don't talk about like the serpents, like the in the spirit and how they affect the body. And so if you're weirded out right now, I just challenge you to stay tuned and, to really open your mind as well. And this, because we're going to be talking about these things because so many people hide and keep these things that they see in the spirit quiet because they feel crazy and they don't think anyone will believe them or understand. And so this woman,
we get you.
You please drop it in the comments. Like, we would love to hear your story on those things. But like this woman was in that state, and she had carried this and had never told someone. She's like, I made it from the altar. So I sat down, and she's like, you'll never believe me, but it felt like a snake crawled right up my spine. And, that's how long a healing can last if you don't do the mental and emotional work. So deliverance, it's not just deliverance. And this is why you have to have the complete solution. And this is also why we're not really big on just giving you like one or two tips of like, hey, just do this, because we don't want to give you Band-Aid fixes where you're good for a second.
We actually care about you. We
want to set you up for success, not an emotional roller coaster that you've already been on. And so that's why we tell you, like, you need all of the foundations, and you can try and piece it all together and go through that process, which is awful, or you can reach out and get direct mentorship. And like, that's totally cool too. Like, that's an opportunity for you. But when it comes to this, you have to do the mental and emotional work so you will close the doors. In scripture, it talks about like, if you cast things out, that when that one demon leaves, it's going to come back with 7 of its friends, and it's going to find everything swept and clean and in order, and there's going to be an open door. It's the open door is the part. So it's not that we're to be scared
and
of
legal rights.
Yes, which is an open door. So this is not about like, oh, I should be scared to cast something out or scared of deliverance. No, we shouldn't be scared of deliverance, only if you're not closing doors.
Yeah, I want to specify, so I understand they're the same thing, legal rights and open door, but most people think it's just, oh, my habits are the open door. Sure, kind of, but it's more the legal rights. Habits can give legal rights, but it's more of like the actual, like if, for example, if you got rid of a demon of like, let's say lust and then perversion, because that comes after an extended period of like pornography use, but then you go back and you use intentionally use pornography again, then it has legal rights come back in, sure, with habits. But like the thing is like you have to also like understand that there's legalities there, and sometimes this has nothing to do with you on why you even have that spirit. It could be like you let it in, but then to some landing strip that it had, but they were already looking for a way in before that through your bloodline because they had it right before you in your bloodline. And so there's different things. People just need to understand that like you have to go for the top level one. You can't just do like, because you got like sin level, trauma level demons at the lowest level, then sin level, and then occult level, and then you got ones above that. Like, but the thing is like you got to have those things in place to get rid of all these things. Now, but words that go back to the topic, like words can actually affect everyone's life. And literally Jesus says life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so if you try to control like habits, like what I'm going to say here is like, if you try to control habits when it comes down to like actual tactics or there's communication or whatever it is, or how you show up, or we'll talk about that in a minute, a little bit more. But when you try to control those things, it's like, it goes against what the Bible says, because you have like, it says in the Bible, you can't have fresh water and salt water flow out of the same spring. You also, in another way, what overflows out of the mouth is an overflow of what's in the heart. So you actually have to reprogram the mind, which reprograms the heart, which reprograms what comes out of the mouth. It didn't say what overflows out of your habits. No, the habits aren't going to reprogram your mind, deep-rooted beliefs. I don't care. You'll struggle on the struggle bus forever trying to reprogram habits if you have deep-rooted beliefs.
You'll do really good, and then you'll crash. And then you'll start all over, and you'll do really good, and then you'll crash. And then you'll go all over, then same thing.
Yep. Now, we're going to talk about how to fix it now. So we're going to talk about how to fix your communication. We're going to tell you what you need to do, what you need to look out for. Just to kind of clarify what most people, so-called marriage experts, gurus tell you, they'll tell you these following things. We want to get these out of the way so people don't do these. But they tell you just to talk more. Just talk more. Just have more conversations. Oh, I needed you to tell me that, like I didn't know that needed to happen. Right?
Or be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yep. Tell them 3 nice things that made you feel loved. You can't make anybody feel anyways, but make you feel loved, made you feel sexy, made you feel whatever that day. Dude, like, no, that ain't going to work. The thing is like, give you like, what are some things that I can improve on today? 4 criticisms, whatever it is. Like, or a SOFT method, which stands for like specific, own it, feel it first, and then ask, right? Like, dude, that's a tactic, right? So
yeah, we call out the tactics first because we don't want you to cling to them or just here's the thing. You have to get our heart position and why we are giving you the information that we do. And part of this is right here. We don't want you to take these little nuggets of like, oh, we're supposed to talk more. So now I'm going to go again, word vomit, feed the demons, and just like all over. There's been so many times in our marriage where we didn't know what was really going on. It's like, why are you mad? I don't know. Why are you crying? I don't know. I was just bawling. Like, why does what I said upset you so much? I don't know. And legit, when people are saying they don't know, they legit don't know because they haven't been taught. So it's not about just communicating that surface level feeling. Most people don't even understand feelings. Like, anger is just a surface level emotion. It's a cover up emotion. There's something deeper. All of the like the protective emotions, a lot of times like that deep hurt, like anyways. So we don't want you just taking a nugget and getting stuck in a cycle, but that's why we're telling you what to watch out for as well.
Yeah, it's basically, we don't want to get you to focus on the behaviors because that's not the issue. People try to fix the behaviors because people live in this like if this then that situation. That's why our kind of brains work, but you're missing the this part. Because what the this you're looking at, then this is you're looking too early. You're looking too surface level. This is actually way deeper than what you think. And it's never really what you thought it was going to be. So you got to change who you are at the root when it comes to things. So instead, what you want to do is renew the mind. Then that renews the heart. That renews the mouth equals renewed habits. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, yes, habits are important, but they're not going to fix it. So starting with habits is a complete joke. I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't do that. Don't listen to anybody that tells you to do that. Mm-hmm. It's also how God made us. Like literally, if you go back biblically, like this isn't just my opinion. It's literally biblical. Like if you go back to what we talked about it in our marketing and stuff like that before, but it's like the whole NeuroGenesis Protocol that we came up with. No, that word's not in the Bible, but Genesis is. And so we came up with that. It's like neuroscience and biblical renewal combined. And it's like, goes back to what God's talked about in Genesis, which is be be first. You have to become first. So it's the be, do, have formula. Myron Golden made this like kind of popular, but you have the be, do, have formula, which is become first. Then you can do more. Notice I didn't say do, be, have. It's be, do, have. Again, you can't outwork or outperform habits. You can't outwork or outperform just with new habits. You have to reprogram your deeper beliefs. And trust me, I tried, and she will attest to this, for years to be better, do better. And you go into this cycle of like, I'm going to do better, be better, do better. I'm doing better for a little bit, crash, burn. It's like, right? And it's not going to be better with a better system.
Come on, you tell us. How many times have you tried to break one of these habits and done the same cycle? Whether it be like yelling or communicating, maybe it's breaking a porn habit or drinking. Drop it in the chat. Let us know, like, have you been on that journey? Because we know that we went through that journey on just about every area.
Yeah, and I'm all for, like, for example, James Clear, the guy that wrote, like, Atomic Habits, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Phenomenal book. We use some of those methods. Like, but the thing is, it's not only what we use.
No, and so on what you have to do, you have to get to the root issues. So on this be, do, have, it's the be first. So even before touching the marriage, hey, let's fix our communication. You have to fix your communication first, yours. And it's not going to start with just the words that you're speaking. Part of it is the words. You are going to have to tame the tongue because you're not allowed to just free flow anything that comes to your mind. It's not, well, I'm just being real. No, that's not it at all. And that's an excuse and cop out just to be a jerk a lot of the times. And so we have to eliminate all that surface level stuff, but you have to tame the tongue, but it's going to come from breaking strongholds in your mind, right? And all of this at the core is what's going to allow also to break spiritual agreements, to break all of the spiritual side as well. So it's not just, oh, I'm going to be prayed for. No, like we 100% believe in prayer. We pray for you guys. And if you want prayer, drop it in the chat and we would love to pray for you. However, I just want you to know, like, it's not, oh, just prayer. Like that's all. Because again, we don't want you to have that open door and invite more things in or make life worse. So it's renewing your mind. It's changing what's flowing out of your mouth. And it is then also deliverance and removing the spiritual things. It's all of it stacked so that you are becoming a completely different person.
Yep. We're going to tell you the true way to fix this. And we're going to tell you how to do it right now. So step one. The thing is like most couples, what they do here, specifically, we did this too, but they start out with believing that better communication or working on the marriage, counseling, therapy, whatever, is the answer. But it's just talking about it, whatever it is. But the real restoration goes far deeper. I just want to say that first of all. In fact, starting in the marriage, though, will only guarantee you will fail from the very beginning. The reason so we don't do this, because we work on the individuals first. So when couples come in, or individuals work with both, but when couples come in, we work with them on an individual level first. Men, I work with the men, she works with the women, and obviously we do that in different ways. But the thing is like we have like that in place, because if we were to, like, we have a 98% success rate in our program, tracked through data and follow up 6 months, 2 years, all those different things, long term, make sure people actually stick to things. So we know it's there. But the thing is that when it comes down to this, like if we were to reverse that, like that protocol of the marriage first, and then we focus on individual after that, you know how much of a success rate we'd have? I wouldn't even be talking to you right now. Let's just put it that way about marriage, because it would be like a 2%, 1%. It would be ridiculously low, just horrible.
Yes. So what you have to do instead is focus on you as an individual. And in that individual is rewiring your neural and emotional patterns. We have to get to the deeper things that are there for, because your deeper emotional and your deeper neurological patterns in your brain. So the hardwire, that's what's running the system, like just like there's a hardwire system, all the deep encoded things that you don't see running right now on whether it's your computer or your phone, whatever it is that you're being able to see us from, that device has deep things running. And so you do as well. And that's your neural and emotional patterns. And those patterns are what drive the conflict, what drive pain and the division, and how your lens on life is, how you interpret things, how you're able to convey and speak things, all of those. And so those are what have to be renewed and changed in order to rebuild the marriage from the ground up.
Yeah. And I've heard Taylor Welch say this in a podcast. Maybe it wasn't a podcast, maybe on one of his other like wealthy consultant trainings. But if you want to go check the deep end out, it's a phenomenal podcast. So is like Chat Catfield's the directed life on like biblical stuff. But regardless, either way, like I've heard Taylor say this one time, and he said like your hardware isn't the issue. God, the way God made you, basically what he's saying is not the issue. It's your software. It's the programming. Like that's literally, and it's so true. Like that's literally the issue. And so what you have to do is blend what I call modern neuroscience blended with biblical renewal. And you combine them together, and that equals what you actually need to fix the marriage and to fix the communication specifically. Because communication, I mean, be honest with you, once you fix the right things in place, it's easy. It's not hard.
It really is. And in this stage, you actually learn how to communicate what's really going on. So earlier when I was talking about, hey, when someone's like, oh, I don't really know, or I don't know why I'm so angry, or I don't know why all of a sudden I snapped, and they're telling the truth. But that's the thing is those are things that you can learn. Those why questions, and parents, I get that you don't really like why questions, but we teach you how to answer any why. Like I know why my body does a certain thing. I know why I get angry or why I get sad or why something bothers me because I know how to process through that, and then I can convey and have a real conversation with Tommy, and we can go really deep versus a surface level, well, I'm angry and what you did made me angry, because anger wasn't even the true emotion, and he can't make me feel anything, just like we can't make you feel anything. So there is different things that are going on, and when you are in this state of working on yourself, this is where you learn and improve your communication skills as well. Because earlier I mentioned on our Hell on Earth, I had blamed Tommy for everything. And I was like, if he could communicate, then we'll be good. Here's the thing. I'm going to finish this out and let you know on this part of the individual of if you're an actual good communicator, you can connect and understand someone on the deepest levels, the deepest emotional things, the deepest beliefs, the deepest subconscious of what they have going on by yourself. It doesn't matter what their skill level is or how engaged they are. It is a skill that you can learn, and we teach people this. So I teach people all the time. I think it's fun. This is something more of like I lean into because I think it's a game where you can learn so many deep things about someone in an everyday 5-minute conversation. We do it all the time. It's great.
If you're not trained to, that's hard.
Yeah. If you're not trained,
you're just going to make a lot of assumptions.
It goes over the head, or it is assumptions. And I mean, this is something that we really work and teach deep concepts with our people that we mentor. But so don't give me the whole point of that is to say, don't give me the excuse of I'm the good communicator, they just can't communicate. Because anytime someone tells me that, it highlights that you actually are not a good communicator, but there is a self-defense and a pride and an ego of, hey, I'm not allowed to be wrong. It can't be me. It has to be you. And that's where I used to operate from. And so I see it really quick. And I just want to let you know, like, hey, here you can put your guard down and it's okay to ask for help.
Yep. I show up. I can be calm. I can ask expanding questions. I can do those things. How do you feel? I try to reflect. You still don't know how to communicate. Like, let me just be honest with you. Here's the thing, like that's not going to fix it, teaching you how to communicate on that aspect of things. And let's just be honest. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a degree, a PhD in communication? No. Great. I don't either. But we've taught people how to communicate 10 times better than they ever learned in their PhD. So like literally that's their words, not ours. And so like when it comes down to it, we've literally taught people that actively use PhD in communications. But once you get the things in place, like the right healing on an individual level, so that's happened first, and the right growth, not just healing, but growth, and working the deep-rooted beliefs, all those things, reprogramming things, building the right mindsets, the habits, everything collectively in place. Then what you want to do is move into the correct marriage foundations, which is learning how to communicate. It's part of it, sure, on a deep level to where you're both truly heard and understood, where you never have to talk about it again, knowing that both of you are truly heard and understood on the deepest possible levels, and knowing it'll never be an issue again, and where you can be a team. And you can bury the old marriage and literally build a new one. That's literally how it works. But the thing is like we have to communicate on what we term as like neurosync communication. And so what this means is like, this is where you come in, and because you've done the deep work on what we call extraction cycles, this is something we developed and coined from the very beginning. But extraction cycles, pull out deep-rooted beliefs is what we developed. And then that allows you to communicate from that level based on those things. And then you're able to communicate on such a deep level that both of you are deeper than what you were ever even aware of, because you weren't aware of the things before you even did that. that you're communicating on such a deep, vulnerable level, deeper than what you've ever known, and you know you're being truly heard on the deepest level, but also you're getting to the root of it, the real issue, the real thing. And guess what? For the people that like Desnekka used to be, that like basically like, I'm tired of talking about this over and over and over again. Once you do it this way, you won't ever have to talk about it again.
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Okay. Literally, it can be done. And here's the thing, both people want that.
Yes.
Both people want that. I didn't want to talk about things over and over again, but the truth is it wasn't getting solved.
That's the thing. If someone's talking about something over and over again, it's because there's a wound unhealed. And also what highlights if a wound isn't healed is if you get really defensive or feel like really hurt. So if anything we've said is like, oh, I can't believe they, okay, it just shows that there is a wound there that needs to be healed. Okay.
I like triggering people, so that's kind of like my thing, but
that's all I'm saying. So, you know, but you recognize like we didn't jump into the communication between the marriage first. It was after, because you also are just going to show up in that communication such a different person. And when we talk about communication, like you can still have disagreements, but we don't yell, we don't name call, we don't belittle, none of those things. And so that's part of that shift as well. And so Tommy, go ahead and talk about the next step, and then we'll let them know where we are.
Yeah. So step number 3, last step here is you're going to need the right tools, communication tools. We have those in place, but you're going to have those in place for sustainability, and also the right tools to maintain, but grow. That's important, sure, but to also grow the marriage. I don't just want you to maintain it, either does she. We want extended growth. That's why we reach out to clients 6 months, 2 years, 1 year, whatever down the road, and they're still doing amazing, if not way better than what they were doing when they were with us.
Yeah.
And so like you have to have those things in place, because that was one of the things we figured out is if you don't have this stuff in place to make it a process, and not just a process, but a lifestyle that integrates with your family, your culture, all of those things, then you're never going to change it.
And what I love about this is implementing the tools and everything also brings it into culture in the family, where the family dynamic and the family communication changes. So this is overall like our kids, now they're 13 and 16. That's where they currently are. However, this started when they were way younger, and they have learned deep communication skills from the start. And so they're able to have much deeper communication skills. So you want to be able to have the tools. And so this is where things like being slow to speak, quick to listen, making sure you say like, I feel like, or that had an effect on me, whatever. The tools and tactics have a place. But if that's all you're using, or if you're starting without the right foundations, or you're just kind of sprinkling them in, what it's going to do is cause chaos. So that's why they have to follow in that process.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I want to say a couple different things here. One, I want you to have a visual in your mind. I'm describing what I'm seeing on my screen here, my notes, because I want you to visualize it, right? Imagine this pyramid, not a pyramid scheme. I don't do that. But like there's this pyramid, and then this is our model. And so if you have God at the bottom, which to God, just for reference for the people that don't know, we mean Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Lord and Savior. For the haters that just don't know. But like then also you got above that, you got mindset. So we work on mindset first. Then you have healthy individual phase. Then you have marriage. Then you have tools, very last. Tip top, the smallest little part of the top of the pyramid is tools. And the reason why that's last, and the reason why all these things are in place, you have to work all these things in order. But the reason, and God has really just blended out the whole process, but the reason why you have to work on realistically like tools last is because they're the least important. Like literally, we tried everything out there, spent a lot of money, a lot of time on everything out there to try to get tools. If tools were going to fix it, if habits were going to fix it, that would have worked a long time ago for us. And honestly, we probably wouldn't be here because we'd be divorced anyways, because that wouldn't have worked. But we could literally give you, I could put like a PDF of something in the chat, but don't worry, I'm not, because it wouldn't help you, of like our communication process, what we use. This is me being honest with you. This is why like people will do this problem, agitate, solve framework on their videos and all this type of stuff. And then they'll get you in your emotions and they'll hook you in and be like, they resonate with me. They know how I feel. And all these gurus will be like, and then here's a tool. It's a lead magnet to get you to come in and actually look at their stuff and enroll as a claimed client. I actually really care. And so we actually really care. And so I'm going to tell you that if we were to give you our communication framework right now with nothing else, you'll fail. You'll fail. It won't work for you. And if it does work, it's going to be a temporary high. You're going to come crashing just through the thing. So like when it comes down to it, you have to have the right foundations in place: God, mindset, healthy individual, marriage, and then tools. And when you have tools, because here's the thing, tools alone by themselves will keep you on the emotional roller coaster.
They do. And so here's the thing. You might be thinking, well, again, well, I'm really stuck on, I am a good communicator. I'm just going to ask you to put the
That's
pride
some pride
down.
there.
And coming from the one, like, I 1,000%, this was me. And that's why I'm like, my heart is pouring out because I know what it's like to be in that place and think, oh, well, my whole marriage sucks because of my spouse. I promise it's not. And I love, love, love the fiery people. I love everyone, but it's just like the honoring, because it was like how I was. And so, that I'm a little biased on that. There is things that you can do, I promise, to develop these skills. And we have taught, when Tommy said we taught someone with PhD about communication, and we've taught many of people with communication skills, or, different teachers, different educators, counselors. One of my favorites was like, I have 2 counselor's degrees. And it's like, okay, just, different things. We taught them. And even though like that's not what our degree is on, because of
I don't have no degree, so you know.
I love how you always say it with incorrect grammar. He does that for fun, just to prove the point. Okay, anyways, so you might be thinking that, but I just want you to let the pride down. And then you might be thinking, like, hey, there's just like too much damage. Or, I don't know if it'll work out. And there's not. So if Tommy and I can go through all that we went through, and now we're just in such a different place, and we'll share with that, like, where we are now, but there's not too much damage. And then I just have to remind you that if you're like, well, I've been working on myself, but I haven't tried the spiritual side. We have had so many people who have come to us who have been in counseling for 10, 20, 50 years, read all the personal development books, all of those things. And if you're like, I call it knowledge junkies, because, and again, if that offended you,
that's a great way to put it.
I love you. And I'm calling it out because I've never had them actually come through and be living it in all areas of their life. So what we teach, we make it implementation. You have to implement. And that's why we walk side by side with the people we mentor. Are you applying it in your everyday life in every area of life? Because if not, then you're just taking in more information, which is there. The information is like out there. If information was all it took, then everyone would be millionaires with 6-packs and all of those things. No, people are too close because of their beliefs, and their mind doesn't allow them to see how they're running. So you're only consciously thinking 5% of the time. So when we mentor you, it's allowing you to see that 95%. And this is my favorite thing, because I'll help call things out. And like, I said that? I'm like, yes.
Yep. Yeah, for the people, the experts that disagree with us, go ahead to do a test. Literally, go to your people and give them a checklist of literally all the habits they need to have. Tell them how to do it, and then see how it improves their life. It won't. They'll do it back. I guarantee they will. I guarantee. I'll bet money on they'll fail. Another thing is like, what changed for us? Well, what does it look like now? Well, honestly, we communicate really well. We have open and safe communication. We have complete trust and safety within the marriage and the relationship. We're able to calm, coolly collect. Are we perfect? No, but no relationship is. And so like...
we're not Jesus, so we're not going to claim to be.
Yeah, like we are able to communicate in a way that shows up with curiosity, love, and respect, and able to do that not because of habits, but because, well, that's sure, surface level, but because of deep-rooted beliefs that we've gotten to and become true healthy individuals.
It's our identity. And so it goes to the deeper of our identity as well, which plays a huge role in all of this. And so where we are at this state is like, yeah, we still disagree. Tommy and I are very opposite people. We have, similar morals and values, obviously, like we're walking in the same direction in life, but we're still different people. But we disagree in ways that you've seen us have conversation today with you here. This is the same way that we have conversations when we disagree.
And we typically look at each other.
Yeah, besides the camera, like we look at each other. But, within that, like we are able to talk through our disagreements, and we're able to have like that safe place. And there's love and respect on both sides, because I want love and respect for who I am. And Tommy wants love and respect. And he does have emotions, because men have emotions too, and they do matter. And so this is the communication that you can have, and where you truly walk through deeper things. And so there is healing on that emotional and mental level. And it's not just a conscious, like when I think about it, I'm going to be able to implement this. This is deep subconscious programming where it just rolls. Like it's just part of like, it's who we are. So that work is done. And there's also healing on the mental, physical. We've both had physical healings and we've, healed spiritually as well. So it's not just one, you have to do it the right order and they all stack and build on each other.
Yeah. And what I will say with this is like, when we have disagreements, do we always get along? No. We're very different people, different viewpoints on things. But the thing is that like one, if we're very different, we're about as opposite as you can get. But like the thing is like if we can figure out how to get along great and work on a really deep level, then so can you if you're different. So you don't have to be like the same and be boring, right?
Yeah.
So like with that, I want to say one thing, like with this, like when we have a disagreement, what we do, if it's like bad enough, what we'll do is we'll actually do the process that we teach clients and we go through that and we work on our deeper beliefs and like figure out what's really going on beneath the surface. And we come together and we communicate about it. We have win-wins and we actually able to be truly heard and understood. Like we follow everything we teach.
Because we live it. It's a lifestyle. It's not just about knowledge. And here's my favorite thing. So not too long ago, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, someone asked me, like, do you have secrets between you and Tommy? I was like, no, I really don't.
It's very open loop for me.
I know.
I don't even know what this is.
So it was just something I forgot to tell you. It was because just diving into some deeper things, like even about like childhood or things that we've done in our past or, just things going on like, hey, do you have secrets? No, I talk to Tommy. I tell Tommy pretty much everything. If Tommy doesn't know, it's because I forgot to mention it and not as in old Desnekka of,
lying by omission.
I forgot and I lied by omission, but legit just, it was a pure innocent conversation and it hadn't came up yet. This was still a newer conversation. And so that's why he hasn't heard about this one particularly, but it's like, no, like we don't have secrets. And so that's where your communication and your relationship can get to, because we used to have lots of secrets, but now even through all of the hell on earth, all the conversations with, affairs and all the stupid stuff we did, like there's not secrets, our struggles, like when we struggle, because we're human, when we have challenges, just things that come up, like we talk, if I don't like him in a moment, no secrets, vice versa. So we just want to leave you with that. And we do want to hear from you as well.
Yep. I got a question for you, just like last time. So what's the topic you and your spouse talk about the most? Because I know everybody has one.
Over and over and over.
That you, yeah. So what's the topic that you talk about? You've talked about a bajillion times already, and it still isn't fixed. Whether you're the person that wants to talk about it or not talk about it, what is it? Type it down below. You don't have to be like super detailed, but if you want to be and you feel that's your thing, cool. I don't care. But I would suggest being high level, right? Keep your private information private. But like, what is the topic? Is it about the kids? Is it about like, we can't agree on money? Is it about, what is it? Is it about past affairs? What is it that like actually is there? Right. So.
Yes. But we love you and God loves you and we'll see you in the next one.